of the things that I see brought up a lot in Black Clover discussions is the power scaling system in Black Clover. A lot of people tend to think that the power scaling is just getting really, really high. Like, for example, somebody like Dante or the Dark Triad in general, they think that their power is really too high to where like most characters can't catch up with them. And I want to say why that's not an issue. So, for example, most of the mages in Black Clover tend to have different magic types. Now, I know a lot of mages have the same magic attributes, such as fire magic, and that's just naming one. Like, obviously, we know they have other types of magic that people share, like water magic, and you get the point. So there's magic that a lot of people share, but there's also magic that not a lot of people actually share. And I think this is where you really want to focus your attention to, due to the fact that these magics, and not even magic in general, because a lot of these powers, because Asta doesn't even have magic, but he's still able to compete at a high level due to not even possessing any mana. And the reason for this is the way that Tabata wrote the story. Tabata wrote the story in such a way that Asta can still compete because his power is very unique. He's able to cancel out magic. So let's say a person is very powerful. That's not necessarily always going to be an issue, because there's a couple things that go into the battles of Black Clover. Firstly, you have to think of strategy. A lot of the times, the Black Bulls and just magic squads in general just tend to come up with a good strategy to defeat their opponent. A good example of what I mean by this is during the fight with Veto. Clearly, the Black Bulls were outpowered. Veto is just something they have never come in contact with before that time. So what they had to do was they were forced to come up with a strategy. And I think this is more entertaining than, let's say, they were just going into a head-on-head collision. The formation of a strategy really was more intriguing to me than if they would have just went at it with a clash of absolute power. And that's not the only thing that I have to address when it comes to the power scaling in Black Clover. Another thing people fail to realize is the magic type actually has a really, really important role when placed in the battles. And not even just battles, because I think that a lot of the characters have useful magic that can be used outside of battles. That's the thing people fail to realize is just because it's a battle shonen, it doesn't mean every character needs to be a fighting character. For example, any good squad is going to have a lot of healing mages, or any good squad is going to have somebody who can support. It's not just the role of attacker, because let's say an attacker gets injured while on the battlefield, they definitely need somebody who's going to be able to heal them up. So those characters are very important also. So looking at the way that Tabata wrote the series, it's clear to me that he had this in mind, that he wanted to have really strong characters, but he still wanted to have his older characters still be useful. A good example of this is Finral. Since the first time we were introduced to him, he was used for traveling far distances. Now, that is a very useful magic type to have, because you're always going to need to travel. If you're in a magic knight squad, if you're in the Knights of the Clover Kingdom, or any kingdom in general, you're going to need to travel. And spatial magic is just always going to be useful because you can just travel really quickly. Another good example of this is Vanessa. She has basically fate magic, and she can control the direction of somebody's fate. So let's say she's fighting against somebody who's super powerful. She can manipulate the battle in such a way that it rolls into her favor, no matter how strong the opponent is. Let's say they use an incredibly powerful attack against Vanessa. She can change fate and make that attack miss. And that can be like really important in battle. It doesn't matter how strong she is compared to them. The fact that she can change the course of a very strong attack, if an attack can't hit you, it can't do any damage. And that's not even taking into account the fact that Tabata really wants his characters to grow. If they're not facing off against powerful opponents such as Dante and the Dark Triad, they're just going to remain stagnant. Imagine if Asta can just go in there and body every enemy he has. Then there would be no use for him to continue training. And we know that training is a part of what Tabata wants Asta to do, because he was doing it ever since the first episode. He was always doing a lot of sit-ups and everything, just training his body no matter what. I think that's really what Tabata wants to push, is hard work beats talent. So I know that a lot of these mages are very talented and powerful, but most of the time hard work can overcome. And I think that's what Tabata really wants to get. Now, another notable example of a power that's just always going to be useful is anti-magic. So let's say a person is very powerful. Again, you go up the power scale, it's a shonen. The next villain is always going to be stronger than the last. So anti-magic, let's say they send a super powerful attack your way, anti-magic just cancels out the magic. So it's like, it can't do any damage to you if it just gets canceled out. It doesn't matter how powerful the character gets. And I think making the characters more and more powerful is very entertaining, and it's interesting because powerful characters are just more interesting. Let's be honest with ourselves. We don't want to see two weak characters fight. We never want to see that. We want to see two powerful characters fight. We like to see people like Julius fight. One of the most hype moments in the whole series was whenever Licht was fighting, and he's one of the most powerful characters. So that just basically proves my point that the scaling of this power system is a good thing because we get to see more and more powerful characters. It's not like our mages have useless magic that's not going to be able to do nothing. They all have really unique magic, and I didn't even touch on everybody. Like Sekirei. Sekirei pretty much has the magical ability to seal away mana and magic and pretty much anything. She can basically seal anything, and she can also unseal anything. She has the ability to seal wounds. She has the ability to unseal anything that another mage puts on you. Let's say a powerful mage comes along and like he tries to chain you up, and you know you're locked in a chain with a lock or whatever. And she can pretty much just unlock that. No matter how strong the lock was, she can unseal the lock or anything. It's just an example. And that's not even taking into account external factors. Like, people forget that they have magical items in Black Clover. Like, the most notable magical items so far would probably have to be the magic stones. And we don't really get a lot of them, but we do get to see how powerful they are whenever like magic items are added to your arsenal. So there's really nothing stopping like a weaker character from using magical items in order to scale up to another powerful opponent, and I think we're probably going to see some more of that in the future. So yeah, that was pretty much my video on how power levels and power scaling in Black Clover actually makes sense, because everybody's going to be useful no matter what. And I just wanted to point that out because some people say the characters are getting too strong, but just because the characters are getting strong doesn't mean that the other characters are gonna become like less useful, you know? So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. It's been your boy NeoXO, and I'm out.